Greetings and bienvenue, MITZU. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
To preface this green text, I'd first like to say I am a believer in the paranormal, but wanted to push the depths of what a person can be manipulated into thinking by using the tools a basic person has at their disposal. Buckle up, gonna be a long one. Be me. 2 years ago, senior year of high school. Regular dude, nothing very special about me. Pretty much fits your definition of an average white male middle-class high school student except in a rural area, kinda redneck. Meet this guy through a mutual friend. Let's call him Jay. Jay is pretty cool, fairly average but leaning on the dumb Chad type. Make buddies with him, crush some brews on the weekends, but don't get real close. Convince him we're best friends. He jumps on this and includes me in his life for everything. Sorta feels .jpg, dude genuinely thinks I'm his bestie, which is kinda sad considering I basically just hang out with him on Fridays or Saturdays, basically just 1 day a week, and that's usually partying. One day, hanging with him and complaining how I hadn't been on a date since splitting with my girlfriend 4 months prior, before I had even met him. He says, "Oh, I got you, bro, I'll hook you up." Introduces me to a cute brunette. Says she's a cool chick and they used to have a thing, but he broke it off cause my life was crazy, bro. Cool.gif. Go out with her 3 times. Don't answer my phone one night because vidya. About 3 hours later, going ham in Forza, hear a smash in the driveway. WTF. Go outside. This woman has freaked out, put a golf club through the passenger window of my truck, broke the side window off and is currently trying to throw matches into the bush in front of the house to burn the shit down. Screaming and crying. Cops are called, get things smoothed out. Find out she thought I had a thing with her mom, and when I didn't answer and her mom didn't answer, she assumed that we were sleeping with each other. After 3 fucking dates, I haven't even met her mom. Jay hears through the mutual friend that introduced us, let's call him P, as he was there playing video with me. Calls me, laughing his ass off. "Dude, I was just waiting for that, she is psycho, yo, pranked," and hangs up. Literally used a variation of pranked, bro. Oh, you fucking dipshit. Not only did this prank cause me a shitload of property damage, this chick was now going around bad-mouthing me to basically any other girl in a 10-mile radius. Remember, rural area, not many people, word spreads quickly. I'm pissed. Start concocting a revenge plan. This is where the fun begins, boys. Tell his little bro what is going on. He was 16 and had a pretty big dislike for his older brother, and he agrees to help. Tell P and his girlfriend, their game as they felt what he pulled was pretty shitty. Start by taking him out into the middle of the Utah desert. Spend part of the day telling him about native history, but when it starts getting dark and spoopy, start pulling out bullshit skinwalker stories and changing them enough to fit my goal, like, in this area and this friend of mine, etc. Jay, do you know what a skinwalker is? No, but they sound scary, dude. We're sitting in a small cave with a little fire flickering, pitch black outside. Skinwalkers are very, very bad things. They can curse you with bad medicine. You gotta trust your gut and avoid anything scary out here at all costs. 'Cause if one notices you, you're dead. It will stalk you and drive you insane and take over your life. Only then will it finally off you. Jay is visibly shaken now. He especially believes me because I convinced him I am half native. All color is gone from his face, then I walk out to take a piss. This is the signal for P to strike. He plays the sound of a mountain lion scream over a big-ass Bluetooth speaker that was stashed right in front of the cave. Jay had no clue P was out there, and when I walked back in, he's freaking the hell out. "What's wrong, man?" "You didn't hear that?" "Hear what?" "That fucking screech." Trying my best to act scared, ask him what it sounded like. It was like a human but more animal, as he stares off wide-eyed into the black. Say, "Dude, we might have drawn something to us. Let's just get out of here." Load up into his SUV, take off. He drops me off at my house, and as I'm getting my shit from the back seat, I slip a little leather pouch under his seat. I soaked it in blood from a steak the night before and put a cow tooth, old chicken bone, bobcat claw, and cheap gas station arrowhead in it. Basically just creepy junk laying around the house. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 initiate. Text his little brother that it was go time. He slips out while Jay is asleep and leaves handprints from some cheap Wolfman Halloween costume gloves all over the dust on his car, making sure to scrape the claws and shit. Draws a generic petroglyph symbol on the back window in charcoal. I get a call the next day. He's freaking out. Oh, yes. Get out here right now, bro. Go to his house. Do my best to look visibly shaken when I see the marks. Dude, I don't know what the hell is going on, or why something is targeting you, but this is bad medicine. The entire day while he is at work, he is texting me how he keeps seeing something black out of the corner of his eye, and when he left that night, he felt like something was following him. I tell him there is only one way to know if he is being targeted for sure. Check his car for anything unusual. Not 5 minutes later, he finds the bag and starts having a massive anxiety attack. Says he can feel its presence, and it's not happy he found it. moosides.png. I tell him if that is what it is telling him, he needs to leave it alone to buy more time, so I can figure out what to do to help him. Gotta figure out a way to contact him without him knowing it's me. Wait. No way he can be that stupid, can he? Get on Facebook, create a fake account. Solid black cover and profile pictures, native-sounding name. Make 3 or 4 very cryptic posts with heavily distorted pictures of him and his car I took candidly. Send a friend request to him, me and P. This entire time P was telling him he was seeing shit too and screwing with him more. I accept, P accepts, and P makes a post. Haha J. I know you're just making this shit up to mess with us. Good job. J accepts the friend request. Starts spamming him with cursed images ripped from here, along with cryptic misspelled messages like, coming for you and desire for flesh but first will destroy mind. Basically, anything creepy that'd fit into a cheap ARG. He's buying this shit and starts messaging me screenshots, freaking the hell out. Continued doing this for the next 2 days. Got P's girlfriend to take pictures of him at work for me to shop and send. He's talking about how the black things in his vision are now full-blown apparitions that hang around, peeking around corners and such that allow him to look before darting away. He's actually so freaked out it's impacting his job and almost gets fired. He says a crow has been following him for an entire day, and he saw a thing in his back seat through the rear view while driving home, and it had red eyes. Jackpot. Text his little brother, tell him not to shoot and roughly what time I'd be there. Park down the road, walk to his house, sneak into the backyard to his window. 2 dim red LEDs on a hat. Start scratching at the screen with a fake wolfman paw. Takes him a minute to wake up, locks eyes with my LEDs. He is in pure, unbridled terror. I duck and run off when the first scream hits the night air. All right, it's starting to go too far, but I don't know when to stop. After all, it's just a prank, bro. He is obviously very, very shaken. Call him and say, let's get all the bros get coffee around 8 the next morning. Acting really weird on the phone, says yes. Me and P are waiting. He rolls into the cafe around 10 minutes later. Jumpy, watching everyone who comes in, looking over his shoulder, etc. He is slightly shaking while eating and crawls into my lap with a loud whimper when someone drops something in the kitchen. You okay, man? Yeah, just saw some stuff last night. You guys come on a drive with me tonight. I just want to make sure you're not messing with me. Sure, man. Around dusk that night, Jay picks both me and P up and says he just wants to talk about what's been going on. He gives a full rundown of all the things we've done and all the things he thinks has happened. He wants to try and contact it and see if it is following him. Little does he know, it is following him, just not how he thinks. Messages it, okay, if you're following me, where am I? We have all bases covered. Both his little brother and P's girlfriend are in P's girlfriend's car and tailing us by a couple of miles. His brother and I joined a family tracking app where he can see my exact location in case they lose us. And P has a phone call to his girlfriend active with his phone in his coat pocket so they can hear everything we say. Start asking it what we are seeing and where we are. Answers are perfect because me and P are making sure to subtly mention everything going on around us, cows on the road, etc. Finally, Jay says he has to pull over, sweat pouring off him, looking completely mentally broken. Sitting off the road in a pullout. While sitting there, I get out to piss and casually take a picture of the car from a just weird enough angle to make it look much further away. Get back in and remember something. There's a dent in his floorboard in the back seat. Start thinking if I stomp just hard enough I can get the dent to pop. Right in the middle of saying a sentence, I slam my boot down on the dent. It pops and makes a perfect slapping sound, like an open hand on a window. He shoots up, drags it into gear, and slams the gas. We are all silent, flying down the road towards home at 80. I send the picture to P's girlfriend, tell her to send it to him on Messenger. She does right as we're pulling into my driveway. Me and P get out and he sees the picture and immediately starts sobbing. Part I don't know, going way too far. By now, all of us involved in the prank had passed prank level. We had a sort of sadistic pleasure in this now. Totally wrecking someone's psyche was fun, and in my opinion, that was the scariest part. I tell him I found a way we can end this, but we would need some things. Gather sage, a flute. What I told him was an eagle's feather, and what I said was, the blood of the moon spirit. Again, just steak drippings. Say we have to go somewhere sacred. Have a spot I tell him is filled with good energy, etc. Really is just a spot perfect for screwing with someone's mental state. Start the ritual. Smear him with ashes, and tell him to stare into the fire while listening to the flute. And we have to do this until I think he has self-realized what his issues in life are, and realized those he has hurt in life. Actually tell him to get in a vulnerable state of mind. This is really just a distraction to buy time for everyone else to set shit up. After about 45 minutes, I get the signal. 3 flashlight flashes from the top of the canyon. A small scenic canyon laid out for tourists to picnic in, with stairs going up to the top. Hear the crunch. I am prepared. Stop playing the flute. Look to the side of the big rock that Jay is sitting in front of, and start backing away in abject terror, making sure to fall over for dramatic effect. Jay snaps out of it, turns to see a sun-bleached dead head of a deer poking out from behind the rock. Close examination would have revealed it was just his little brother in a shoddily made, dirty costume of torn and muddy thrift shop clothes. But when you think you are going to die, that goes out the window. That's when the smell hits me. Props to Liquid Ass for making a truly awful smell that, when layered with heart-stopping fear, really does smell like death. He starts screaming a truly primal scream while trying to get away, and literally crawls through the fire while his brother slips back around. I yell, "Fucking run!" We both begin tearing ass up the stairs to see the truly horrific sight I had arranged. Deer heart and lungs splayed out on the hood of my truck with a healthy splashing of curdling pig's blood. A long fire blocking off both exits of the parking lot. His reaction is honestly a 1,000-yard stare dipped in existential dread. He had transcended fear and moved into a level only describable by biblical proportions. We jump into the truck, him ripping off my door handle in the process, and as soon as the headlights come on, the creme de la creme. There, perfectly illuminated in the headlights, is a very realistic fake skeleton dyed red with dripping fake blood. The head molded with ground beef to look like rotting flesh and bits of meat hanging off the rest of the skeleton. P's girl said she made it look good, but I didn't think that good. I was in on it, and that thing still freaked me out. Jay was already curled up, shaking and dead silent in the fetal position on the floorboard before we even drove through the fire. Just some cardboard coated in oil, not a big deal to plow through. Jay isn't a super little guy either, a typical ex-footballer. Pretty muscular and about 6 foot or 6'1", so definitely not tiny. Fitting on the floorboard was impressive. It was when I successfully got home that I knew I had messed up. I called P, who was just down the road and followed us back. Acted like he wasn't there and told him what happened. The entire time, over an hour now, Jay is curled up full fetal, not even whimpering or rocking, just breathing extremely heavily, eyes open, unresponsive. P pulls in and we manhandle him up, and I get in his face. Start yelling at him I don't know what happened, but I was going to go back out and kill that thing if it was the last thing I ever did. After 5 minutes of me and P going off about how we would get it and make sure it never hurt him, he finally slowly nods and lets us carry him inside. Drop him on the couch, and he goes right back to full fetal. But at this point, we know we can't tell him it was a prank, and he probably wouldn't even believe us. Don't feel comfortable leaving him, but kinda have to. Grab guns, leave for about 2 hours, not saying much to each other. Come back. Both of us shredded our clothes and rolled in the dirt to get some real scrapes and bruises. Had to really sell this. Came back to him, said it was over, and gave him a mountain lion's tooth from my dad's mount, and said if he carried it with him always, nothing would ever bother him again. He's extremely silent and stays with me for the next 3 days. Not eating, not drinking. Finally dump him at his dad's house. Is so psychologically disturbed that his dad ends up institutionalizing him for around a month. He got fired, needless to say, by the way. They chalk it up to a bad drug trip, since he was a known psychonaut in junior year. To this day, he carries that tooth and is mostly the same. Once in a while, he'll get triggered, I guess, and go into the 1,000-yard stare. He moved from our hometown to the middle of the city because he couldn't stand the outdoors anymore. Only told me about a week ago that night when we left to kill it that he tried to off himself, but my gun cabinet was locked, and the pistol I usually kept next to my bed was on me. My face. When a prank made my friend get institutionalized, fired, moved away from his hometown, almost off himself, and gave him PTSD that will most likely last his entire life. Moral of the story: the power of suggestion is great, and when you're spooked, your primal senses will overload logical thinking. Also, if you're gonna pull a prank, don't take it too far. Power is intoxicating, and the repercussions can be severe.
I used to be friends with a girl who had just a dozen or so movies that she liked on her laptop, watching them over and over and over again. Many of them were popular films with significant portions edited out. She'd had a friend cut out all the scenes featuring any violence or sexuality, no matter how slight, with very few comedic exceptions. And she didn't even consider anyone's recommendations of other films, even if that friend would have edited them. She reasoned that it was because she had only ever watched those dozen or so films and wouldn't need more since she had the edited versions of them, and that she couldn't handle anything shocking unexpectedly. Needless to say, her other friends and I all found her strange and at times annoying to hang out with, but at least I can say that she was by far the nicest and most honest person I've ever known. We called her Angel, for reasons that should be obvious. On the evening of October 31st, 2016, a group of friends went to hang out at a park that got pretty spooky after dark. Angel lived alone in a nearby apartment complex, so when we started getting cold and decided to go indoors, we went with her. Her apartment was largely unfurnished, with the notable exception of the bedroom. The floor was entirely covered by mattresses, and there were dozens of pillows, blankets, and plushies scattered around. There were several comfy armchairs facing the TV, which sat on top of a stool at the back of the room in front of the window. Next to it was her laptop connected to the TV. This was where she watched her few favorite movies, and had made many of us watch them more than once. That night, the friend who had originally edited those films to her liking managed to convince her that we should watch scary YouTube videos. We stuck to obviously fake ghost caught on tape ones, which at least outwardly didn't bother Angel, and she said it was because she didn't believe in ghosts. An hour or so later, she said she was bored and wanted to put on Patch Adams. It was her all-time favorite film, with the edits, of course. She watched it practically daily. We all had seen it at least once before. Not the most exciting film on a Halloween night, but she couldn't be talked out of it. At this point, my best friend and his girlfriend left, but the rest of us stayed because we weren't planning on actually watching it. We'd just talk about ghosts or whatever. So she double-clicked on patchadams.mp4, and the film began. She was actually watching it, but she'd seen it 1,000 times, so she also talked over it about paranormal stuff with us. Her editor friend, though, seemed like he was having a hard time focusing on the conversation. After the part where Patch holds the skeleton and says, "I have a boner," suddenly it cut to the scene in imprint where the girl hangs upside down with needles stuck in her gums. When she saw it, Angel screamed and backed up to the corner, hid under a blanket, and wailed in the most heartbreaking way I've ever had the displeasure of hearing. It was like she was mourning the death of a child or something. She just kept crying and moaning no matter what we said. Even her editor friend apologized, saying it was a prank, and that it was just a movie too. Before we had started watching the YouTube videos, he'd replaced the Patch Adams file with a new edit that included fucked up scenes from horror movies, but already that first one was too much for Angel. Me and another friend decided it wouldn't be a good idea to leave her alone, so we stayed the night. She stopped crying eventually, but in the morning we realized she'd pissed herself and was still shaking. We got her to drink some water, but she wouldn't say a word. Neither of us could stay, so we called her sister and told her what happened. Her reaction was like, "I'm coming, stay with her," but wouldn't explain why Angel was the way she was. The other friend left, and I waited for her sister, trying to get her to at least look at me, but she just stared into emptiness. When her sister came, she rushed to Angel and held her. I awkwardly left because I was already late, and after work I called Angel's sister to ask if I could come by. She said it'd be good, but I should be extra careful. I shouldn't even talk about what happened because it'd only make her relive it. So I went there, and her sister explained quietly that Angel witnessed a brutal assault and possibly murder when she was 7 and had to hide in a dumpster. She stayed inside for hours in the pitch-black darkness and had to walk home at night. Anything too shocking sent her mind back to that dumpster. She'd never watched a horror movie in her life. That scene and imprint sent her way over the edge. As far as I know, she never returned to normal. Last I saw her, she still wouldn't speak more than short, childlike sentences and was like a little kid. I wouldn't say she seemed unhappy, but being her friend was too hard when all she cared about were coloring books and plushies and talked to me like I was an older family friend or something rather than a friend. It was like her memories of her friends were gone. Shortly after that Halloween night, her sister moved in to help her in her daily life. Her sister told me she hasn't dared to watch Patch Adams after that. A prank ruined her favorite movie for her. Moral of the story? Some people might have a reason why they can't handle horror films.
Prank gone wrong. On a warm summer night, me and my friends went fishing outside the town. We were a group of 3 boys and 2 girls. As we drove to the designated place, my mind was thinking on how to impress the girls so I could have the chance to get together with one of them. When we arrived at the lake, I noticed that there was a big cloud of mosquitoes, and sure enough, it was impossible to stand near the lake as the little bastards were attacking us constantly. We figured it is better to chill in the meadow field nearby. As the hours went off, it started to get dark, and at this moment I thought, why not play a joke on everyone, plus get the attention of girls? I excused myself for a piss and went into the woods nearby. I was trying to find stones or branches which I could use for my devilish plan. I gathered a few stones and got back to the crowd. The only light we had was of the campfire. I was laying a little more in the back of the crowd. When nobody was looking on my side, I threw a rock into the woods, hoping to hit a tree. With success, everyone stood up and started to ask each other if they heard the noise. I was playing along with them. After a few moments, I threw another rock, hitting a tree. Now the girls started to panic and demanded that we leave this place and drive back to the city. But we calmed the girls, telling them that probably some birds or animals make the noise as it is common in woods. After a few hours, the girls had to use the bathroom, so they asked if one of the boys could escort them to the nearest bush. My other mate and I stayed near the campfire. I was trying to throw a rock in the girls' direction. My other mate was just talking and didn't even notice. After the throw, the girls started to scream, which made us laugh, but after that we had to calm them down again, which was harder this time. I had no stones left, so I thought I would just stick with the flow for now. Everyone was a little tense because of me. So the night went on. We were having a good time, and I was trying to flirt with one of the girls, hoping to get her next to me so she would feel safer because of the big bad animals in the woods. What happened next almost made me shit my pants. A rock was thrown right into the fire, big sparks lit up the place, and everyone was freaking out. We were yelling and cursing, asking who threw it. This was the last straw for the girls. They cried and demanded that we get to the car and get the fuck out of that place, or else they'd call the cops. I wasn't against that, and neither were any of my pals. We were scared shitless. Right when we got into the car, another rock was thrown into the campfire. Everyone was panicking. I was scared as hell, because I knew it wasn't me anymore who was throwing the rocks. Our driver noticed that the car keys weren't in his pockets anymore. They probably fell out and were near the campfire. The girls stayed in the car while we got out to find the keys. I was shaking like hell and couldn't control myself. All I was doing was looking into the woods, trying to see if there was someone. While looking into the woods, All of a sudden, one of my friends just fell to the ground. "What the fuck are you doing?" I screamed. I got next to him, shaking him, yelling at him to get up. While doing that, I noticed blood coming from his head. "Oh my God!" I screamed to call the cops. The girls were crying and screaming, and my other pal was in shock and stood there with a pale face, looking in the woods direction. I told him to help me get the body into the car, and right at that moment, another rock hit my other buddy's leg, hitting so hard that it broke his leg. At this moment, I couldn't think straight. I was screaming to stop the rock throwing. The girls were on the phone with the cops, but they couldn't describe our location, and neither could I. Only the driver knew the place. I helped my buddy get to the car, left him near it, and went for the other guy. Right when I got further away from the car, a rain of rocks hit it, breaking the car windows. That was it for me. My survival instincts kicked in, girly powers, and I ran the fuck away without caring what would happen to my friends. Luckily, I got onto the roadway. All I was doing was running on it in the dark. It started to get brighter, morning, and I got a little calmer and came to my senses. I went back to the campsite. When I got there, I found it empty. No girls, no car, just the burned ground and a few rocks the size of a fist. I thought that they had found the keys and driven away, but looking around, I found the keys. I got back to the road and got a hitchhike home. Later that day, I got a call from my buddy's mum asking if I had seen her son. At that moment, I knew that nobody knew where we went or with whom. I lied and said that I didn't know anything. The next day, the police arrived. I was questioned and informed that 4 people were missing. I don't know where they went or what happened, but I never told anyone about that night.
Didn't happen to me, but happened to my friend. He, like me, is an extreme skeptic, but he's never been able to explain this, and it makes him mad because, to some extent, he feels he needs to believe in the supernatural because this happened to him be my friend. Be in high school, living with mom, dad, and little brother. Dad goes on a business trip, away for several days. Playing video with brother in the living room. Mom comes in and asks which one of us hung Dad's shirt on the shower head. Both of us say, why the hell would we do that? Maybe he put it there and forgot it when rushing out. Mom puts the shirt back in Dad's dresser. Next night, same thing. Same shirt hanging on the shower head when Mom goes in to use it. Mom is genuinely freaked out because she does believe in ghosts. Also, this is a weird prank to play on her kids. Brother seems truly as clueless as me, but he's a little shit, and it's possible he's trying to mess with us. Mom puts the shirt away again, swears that if this happens again, she's going to get rid of it. Next night, no shirt on the shower when Mom checks. Stay up late playing video. The spot I'm at in the house is sort of close to the bathroom, and I'd absolutely know if my mom or brother left their rooms, or if anyone went into the bathroom. Tired, turn off the console to go to bed. Decide to check the bathroom on a whim. The shirt is on the shower head. Wake up brother and mom. Mom throws it in the outside trash bin. As far as he knows, it was taken away with the trash that week, and that was the end of it. His brother is a Zoomer mad lad, so I was willing to believe it was him pulling a shitty prank until the final night, where my friend swears that the shirt wasn't on the shower head when his mom checked at the normal time that night, and that he would have noticed if anyone had entered the bathroom between that time and him checking the bathroom in the middle of the night and finding the shirt there.
Somebody actually tried to hide some body parts around my old house and neighborhood. I couldn't figure out where the stench was coming from until I found a trash bag around the underside of my house. I figured some asshole stuck some sort of dead animal in there as a prank. I called animal control because I didn't want to touch any of that shit and had them deal with it. It wasn't until someone opened the bag that they discovered the human head inside and immediately called the police. Police went searching for the rest of the body throughout the neighborhood, and one of the people I know that lived on my street told me they found a leg at his place. The worst thing is that the head was on the side of my house where my bedroom was, and I couldn't help but wonder if that head was lying face up and just looking up at me through the window. Just thinking about those dead eyes looking at me while I slept in my bed disturbed me. I still get the shivers when I think about what happened. It's scary to think what's going on around you while you sleep, being none the wiser.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.